Quan joins us in. Hey, how's it going, man?
What up? What up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
For
You
sure, for
can hear me
sure.
right now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Hey, I want to say first off, thanks for joining us here.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna let some people roll in here, but one of the things that I love about having you on here and just like a new artist to the platform, you've never been on Upcoming Hip Hop before, let
Right.
alone quarantine questions, is that we get to kind of dive into the whole story.
Yeah.
Start from the beginning, and so I'm really excited to hear kind of how you got your start in music and hip hop and how it's kind of gotten to where it's at today.
I'm excited to do that because I haven't really got a chance to really do that. I mean, I kind of have before a little bit, but not really in depth, man. And I feel like I can really go in depth, man. It's the right time to just kind of talk about my story and let people know where I come from with it. Because I feel like I'm not too vocal. I just put music out, you know what I'm saying, and let people hear me from that standpoint. I don't really put out videos of like telling my standpoint or just telling my point of view. So yeah, it's gonna be something to hear my background real quick.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
going back to the beginning on things, was music something that was always kind of a direction that you saw yourself going, or was this something that kind of later on, as you started to mess around with it, or you started to listen to music, that you kind of started to feel like maybe I can do this?
both my parents actually are heavily involved with music. Like my family just has a musical background. My mom is in a gospel group called James Green Company. Um, my dad plays bass in a gospel group, or now, now that he's older, he just plays bass in church and whatnot. But I've always had a musical background. I've always, been interested in doing, music and actually just the little intricate things that go into it, not just like looking at the flashy stuff and looking at everything that was going on to be like, I want to get rich and I want to be,
Right.
what I'm saying? Like I was going to the studio with my mom and like seeing the engineer do certain things, or like seeing the process of having to constantly record something over and over and over again, and like,
Right.
you know, stuff like that, like, and just even just jam sessions, man, like just watching, my dad, with his band, or, my mom, or the people that are in the band with my mom, the musicians there, like watching that stuff is just, I've just always loved the 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 free the freedom of music. So that's pretty much how I wanted to get involved. Like I had no choice, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just in me.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's so much to music that people don't see, and everybody consumes this final product. But you're
Yeah,
right. There's the engineering that goes on, the production that goes on, the writing that goes on, and there's just so much behind the scenes stuff, and that's what's driven me
hours.
to do this, is because I've always been interested in the behind the scenes stuff as well, and
Yeah,
hearing what got to the final product. Like
yeah,
the final product's neat, but it's just always like there's so much stuff, and I love diving into it. So it's cool
yeah,
to hear that that's kind of what drove you into this as well.
yeah. It's the different sounds and how mesh things together, and my mom being in the group. There's the tenors, the altos, sopranos, stuff like that. So I got to see like how they harmonize and how they all went in there one by one or together, or, just different things to put sounds together and put things together. It's something to really watch. Like it's a blessing to see actually as a kid. Like it was down to business. I remember being there for hours, man. Like that stuff took a while. Like I knew what was in store for me if I wanted to take that journey, and I've been prepared like for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's cool, and it's also good, to see it from that side, when you're young, because otherwise, I mean, it can hit you like a ton of bricks if you think you're just gonna run into a studio, record a song real quick, and then it's just gonna be you're rich the
Hmm.
next day. Like,
Right. You really
um,
gotta love this shit, man. You really gotta want to love it to do this shit and put the work in. So yeah,
absolutely. And so, jumping a little bit away from your music first, I kind of wanted to talk about, because I know you've done podcasts and interview series in the
yeah.
past too.
Hmm.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about, the future, and do you see yourself, jumping back into podcasting, into doing kind of interview series like this, or do you think you really want to just stay in that lane of doing music and see where that takes you?
My thing is now, like, over the years, I've kind of realized a lot about myself as far as like me as an artist, me as a creative, me as a person that just likes to talk, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that likes to, really put my perspective out there, because I feel like more people with common sense should, put their opinion out there and, give some other people a different perspective, because a lot of people think too quickly without, or speak too quickly without thinking. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm not to sound like a know-it-all, because I don't know everything, you know what I'm saying? I still make mistakes every day. I still learn shit every day, but
Sure.
common sense goes a long way. And of course, I want to be a part of, I'm working on a podcast right now. Like I'm gonna, start recording one soon. And, I just want to get all my topics right, get all my subject matter right, get my content right, stuff like that. But
Definitely, man.
I love to talk. So
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because you know, especially if you're coming at it from that standpoint where you're going to try and get your own personal message out. A song is a good way. Music's always been a creative way to do that, but you can only put so much into 3 minutes,
right.
And speak on something. So when you can really expand upon that, and especially an artist that a lot of people follow, and now they're going to take a chance to sit down and listen to it. I mean, I'm gonna listen to it like whenever you get ready to release it. Like I've enjoyed hearing your opinion on things as of late as well. That's one of the things I want to get into later, as well as I follow a lot of artists for their music, and I listen to your music too. But you're one of the few artists that I also follow to like see what you're gonna like. Sometimes it's crazy stuff, like sometimes it's funny stuff, like sometimes it's just it's stuff that I absolutely think myself as well. So I'm excited to hear that as well.
I stay on my toes with certain things, man. I like bringing all aspects of everything, the funny, the seriousness, all that. That's the aspects of life, man. Everything ain't funny all the time, everything ain't sad all the time, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely. And so, in talking about, at things as of late, as we kind of jump into your music and your last thing that you put out, the We Outside song, something that I've been doing lately with artists that have come onto the podcast is just to talk and to allow you to kind of talk about it. I don't really have many questions for songs like these because it's not an experience that I've experienced myself. But I do think it's important for people to hear your perspective on it. For a lot of different reasons, Minneapolis being where the latest, thing that went crazy and with George Floyd and the movement and everything like that, you being from here and being able to speak on something that a lot of people, even from Minneapolis, didn't know about, I think is important as well. So I just kind of wanted to see, how you felt creating songs like this.
Well, how much time you got, brother? What I really want to talk about really is like there's a few points, man. There's things I want to get to. I want to get to like, the George Floyd incident. I want to get to certain people's reactions. I want to get to the Karens. I want to get to the people that don't understand why people protest, why people are mad. You know what I'm saying? Why people fuck shit up. You know what I'm saying? But I want to start with just the basic. Just something basic real quick before I get into all the other shit. What's basic for people that have a brain and should understand is that, for one, and it's fucked up that we still have to explain this, but Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that Black Lives matter more than anybody else.
Right.
Let's say that for the millionth time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Black lives just are supposed to simply matter. So for a people that for some reason, the same people that talk about all lives matter can, acknowledge that racism is real. For some reason, I don't understand why they don't get the point of Black Lives Matter. Why would you shout all lives matter, but you understand? Well, literally, they don't understand, but they say they understand. It's like it's nerve-wracking, it's frustrating, it makes people mad as shit. Like, imagine having to try to explain yourself over and over and over again, keep saying the same shit, and somebody is continuously taking that meaning and twisting it and making it whatever the fuck they want to say just to fit their narrative. Like, that's what's going to keep this stuff continuously going the route that we're going right now. Like, there's nothing that's going to change if people aren't willing to understand. Like, it's 2020. If you don't understand what's happening right now, or don't understand something that is as basic as a life mattering, where are we going to get? They can charge that officer, they can change all these policies, but these people still exist out here. There are still racist motherfuckers out here who will stop at nothing to demean the movement, to make everything seem like it's not what it is. Somebody said that fucking Karen was the equivalent to saying the N-word. Like,
Man,
you've been getting called Karen for 2 months, and now you feel oppressed in a way. Like, that's the type of shit that blows my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, the shit is sick. And out here in Minneapolis, we have a lot of people that they're not talking about a lot of the stuff that has been going on with the community, and how the community has been giving back to everybody after everything happened, the riots, the looting, all that stuff. People that need stuff, they have been getting what they need. They've been getting what they need because of the community, not because the cops are going in there. You know what I'm saying? The public servants, they're not rolling through streets giving people boxes of groceries and
right.
of the necessities they need. No, it's the community, but they're not getting the recognition they deserve. My big cousin, he goes by P. His name is Rory Purnell. He owns a barbershop on 42nd and Lindale. It's called Clientele Barbershop. He got looted. His barbershop got looted. But through the blessing of a GoFundMe, after everybody saw what happened, not only did he start rebuilding his shop back, but he didn't hold that against his community, because he understands, as a Black man, how it feels to feel a certain way, despite it being a Black-owned business, which I don't condone that, not once at all. Don't go after Black-owned businesses. Understand where they are, what they are, and don't mess with them. But he gave back this morning. He had a truck pull up with loads and loads and loads of boxes of dairy products, produce, all this stuff for people to come and get for free, because he understands that our people need it and our community helps each other. So that's just,
And to that extent, I forget what the community was, the brewery in Northeast there, that they saw such an outpouring of love and money coming in to help pay for the brewery, that they expanded their GoFundMe and started towards other community aspects. And I think that's something that, you're right, isn't being talked about. The fact that, like, people aren't getting greedy with it. They're not trying, and that's something that, like, corporations do. Corporations get greedy when there's money. Look at Corona. Like, corporations are banking off of these, like the whole COVID pandemic. Meanwhile, you get community leaders like these guys who are taking any excess and they're donating it right back into the community. So it's crazy to see that doesn't get the recognition that it really should.
And what's even more crazy is the same people who were sitting there protesting to get out of a lockdown and to protest the coronavirus were the same people, and the same people that were complaining about all these big businesses getting bailouts while everybody else got this shitty end of the stick, are now sitting here mad because these same businesses that got bailed out, who literally just got millions and billions of dollars, got their shit fucked up.
Yep.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, that don't make sense.
Right. And I agree. That. And one of the things I also wanted to bring up here is because you talked about this energy that people have against Black Lives Matter, to put it as all lives matter. And if those people could direct that energy at the people that are causing Black Lives Matter to have to be said, all the racist people in America, like, if you direct that energy towards those racist people instead of directing it at, well, this saying that you said doesn't really sit well with me, like, then change those people. Like, you change those people, nobody's going to be shouting Black Lives Matter anymore if you get rid of those people. So change those people. Then you're right. Then we can all say all lives matter.
What's also very funny is, you just gave me a good point, man. I ain't think about this. The same motherfuckers who sit there and when they see Black Lives Matter and us protesting what's happening against the police in the community, not the civilians in the community, the police in the community, they always like to bring up black on black crime. What's crazy is these same people who talk about this shit do not check their next door neighbor who's a racist ass prick and try to get them the fuck out of here. You worry about your community. Your community is fucked up while you sit here worrying about ours.
Right.
Your community is fucked up. Somebody literally was just trying to hang a black man down south.
I remember seeing that video.
Check them motherfuckers. That's crazy. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, man, that's another topic I want to touch on too, is the quote black on black crime. I want to touch this. I want to touch on this topic right now because it always seems to be the deflection. That is the deflection that they like to use. So let me say first that we know as the black community that we have a lot of work to do. A lot of that work comes with being in the community and trying to help the inner cities and help these people understand that there's a different way to go about life. Also, the fact that trauma is real. Trauma is real. You can't take an entire race and do what you did to them for hundreds of years and not expect trauma to come from that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are dealing with years and years of trauma in the cycle, the robotics of being in poverty. You know what I'm saying? And having to deal with trying to struggle every fucking day to eat or to get money, to find whatever the case may be. You're gonna and if you put a bunch of people in the same neighborhood, that's basic common sense. If I live in a neighborhood that has 95% black people, the crime that's going to happen in that neighborhood is going to be between black people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you don't ever hear the terms white on white crime, Mexican on Mexican crime, Asian on Asian crime, Muslim on Muslim crime. None of those terms exist. You don't ever hear that shit because of the simple fact that right there, that proves the point that phrase, black on black crime, is used as a deflection. When we talk about the police, the people who are supposed to protect and serve, the people that, once again, the same people that talk about all lives matter love to throw out the fact that these are my tax dollars that pay you to come over here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're supposed to come over here and protect and serve. Why are you holding them to the same standard as a regular citizen? Right. Don't bring up black on black crime. We know what's going on. There's marches, there's program. Matter of fact, there's a march that was just organized, I believe, for today.
From the mothers. Oh, I thought you were talking about the mothers. That was
no. There was another one. No, there was another one that's for all the shootings that's been going on lately, all across everywhere. They've been organizing stuff, but it's not being blasted everywhere because of the narrative. People want to keep that narrative that black people don't give a shit about each other. So why should we?
And that's what I was gonna bring up with to your point on that is that I mean when you you can tell people that talk to people in those communities versus people that don't, because I've never heard any black person tell me that black on black crime isn't a problem or that crime in their neighborhood isn't a problem. Like that, it's brought up all the time. It's just not something that everybody's following. Like news crews aren't down there to watch. I mean, I saw about I don't know, maybe 10-second clip on the news about that mother's march against gun violence that happened last week after a bunch of shootings. So, the George Floyd protests were headline news for days. But then, this happens where they're talking about other issues in there and where there's no newscasters around.
Well, and another thing is that the news decided they wanted to continue to push the narrative of people being violent. And they wanted to push the violence, not only just for the protesters, but the police. They played both sides so that it wouldn't look like it was just all about the protesters being violent or all about the police. They wanted to literally, that is the way to create confusion and to create the people that don't want to or maybe want to learn about what's going on, why everybody across America and across the fucking world are protesting Black Lives Matter. You're blocking that by focusing on violence.
Right.
It's going to happen. Shit is going to happen. We live in a place where literally this whole entire country is built off violence.
Right.
Violence. That's all it is. It's war, fucking violence, people dying, people, all that shit. So violence is going to happen. What we fail to do is try to understand the point. This is the point.
Right.
The task at hand is to make sure that black people's lives fucking matter. The fact that
Right.
you guys want to continue to not give a shit about something that people have continuously been saying for centuries is what's going to bring more violence and more unrest and more people not giving a shit about how this place turns out. And
Right.
for the people that want to say, hey, if you don't like it so much, leave, shut your weak ass up. You a weak ass bitch. You a weak ass individual. You want to know why? Because you don't understand how people have the strength to fight for change. People are over
Right.
here fighting for change. They're not running from this place.
Right.
Imagine being brought here against your will and then having to stay here and then try to make this place change, having the strength to continuously over the years, the decades, the centuries, all our leaders that we lost due to trying to fight to change. You think we're gonna stop now? Fuck no.
Right. Right. And that's just talking about the leaders, like the leaders that a lot of people know about, minus, you think about all the leaders that people don't know about and all the people that have been taken out before they had a chance to really get to the level some of these other people have.
Some of these Black Lives Matter people, the heads and the leaders, some of the leaders around the country turning up dead. They finding these people dead places. Like these people haven't even had the chance to try to make the change they want to make because somehow they turning up dead. They're not being talked about. It's crazy.
Yep. And so, I don't want to take away from this, but I want to talk about a lot of the change that's going on because
in
Minneapolis, there's more than just what's happening with that. There's the Black Trans Lives Matter. There's a lot of civil protests for a lot of different reasons. The recent abuse that's been seen in the hip hop community here.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
And so that's where I kind of want to talk in a little bit about this and bring some of these topics in because it's one of those things that I've heard repeatedly from before I was really involved with hip hop music, and now that I am involved in it, a lot of people talking about the misogyny in hip hop, the abuse, and then when you see it happening, it goes from, well, that's just a song to, okay, well, this is really happening. And now how do you talk about this?
Right. So how do you explain the music that you said was just music when all this stuff is actually just reality now?
Right.
All this shit is turned into reality. This is why, people need to understand, like, I have always been the artist to be I'm not a quote unquote conscious rapper, but I'm conscious about what the fuck I put in my music. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't, like somebody, I was just having a conversation earlier today with somebody who was telling me how somebody was telling them about my music and was like, man, does he rap about the stuff that he does? Or man, that's probably the biggest reason why I'm not somebody who's fucking lit out here and has the most fucking fans. I don't fucking exaggerate. I don't have to go around talking or bragging about anything. I talk about my real life, what my real life is like. Motherfucker, I got a family, I got a daughter, I got another child on the way. I'm not finna sit up here talk about me going out here fucking X, Y, and Z and popping this and that. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is crazy to me. I can't. I wouldn't. And I don't say that to be cool or be edgy or to be different. It's the fact that it's my personality. I wouldn't feel right with myself for doing that. So the fact that a lot of our community has been the type to actually be this way, like not only in the music but in real life, and also some of the motherfuckers that be out here with their music trying to preach certain shit and actually real life being a fucking predator. You know what I'm saying? Without saying their names, you know who the fuck you are. Like some of these people were out here really preaching some shit and actually putting on this persona like they really gave a shit about people or like they really gave a shit about women or just human beings and trying to play like some fucking hippie ass fucking love everybody shit and really you just out here being a fucking weirdo. Like that shit, it blew my fucking mind, bro.
Right.
All this shit blew my mind, bro.
Yeah, and I felt the same, and it's important to talk about it, and it's important also to note that like similar to everything else, you can't judge an entire community by the few individuals that are coming out. But
Yep.
that community also has to step up and say that that's wrong. You know,
Hmm.
that's one of those big things that I think a lot of people talk about when it comes to the police is, well, nobody's denouncing those police that are doing these bad things. The other officers aren't stepping up. So how can you then, as a hip hop artist, not turn and look at that person when you see them in a club doing something kind of sketchy and go,
Yeah.
if I don't say anything, I'm really no better than that officer that's not saying anything when he's,
See?
you know, standing there with his foot on his
And
neck.
that's like you that's a great point, man, because a lot of people, not only has the people that have been directly involved in shit have to come forward and apologize, but a lot of the people that have been friends with these people and have been complacent with the shit that they're doing and being okay with it and not being vocal or trying to put a stop to it or at least distancing yourself from that person, they're being called out too. Because they
Right.
don't like they're when you're you're an accomplice basically. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? If I'm riding in the car with somebody, with one of my friends, and he start dumping out the window, we both go into jail. You
Right.
understand? So if you out here with one of your friends or one of your homies or one of your record label mates or somebody you fuck with heavy in the scene and you know what type of person they are, hey man, you know what I'm saying? I I knew how to maneuver from people, man. I could tell. I got that sixth sense within me when I could tell when somebody ain't right. I ain't gonna mess with you. I don't care what your status is. I don't care what your clout is. None of that shit, because I know where it ends up. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Rhyme Sayers is how many years old? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it eventually shit will come to light.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. People don't worry about anybody. Like that's another lesson I had to learn through this whole thing. Like I was looking for validation from a lot of these people out here. All these rhyme sayers artists or anybody connected over there, people from Soundset. Like I went on a campaign trying to perform for Soundset. I never got to. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to my entire career. I felt like that was one of the biggest accomplishments of my whole life. And now I feel like it wouldn't have been shit. It wouldn't have been an accomplishment. It'll have been something now that the artists that have performed on that stage who aren't a part of this whole predator shit, how can they put that on their resume?
Right.
How can they brag about that shit? It's an accomplishment, but how can you brag on it? Now it's tainted.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like with my situation personally, having that the type of relationship I had with Slug of Atmosphere, like he promoted the shit out of my music. Every time I put a song out, he posted it up on his Twitter or whatever, and that's been going on since like 2014. I didn't get to meet him till earlier this year. You know what I'm saying? For the first time ever in life, ever actually talking to him and meeting him.
Right.
And I felt like, man, that was one of the coolest things ever. And now I have to sit back and like really think about why I feel like I needed that type of validation from people in that type of higher like in a higher rank than me, so to speak. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
just
and
real
I think,
confusing.
yeah, and I think it's, I mean, there is something to be said about just the human emotion, the psychology of it all. Of, you know, you look up to people that are in higher position as like,
Yeah.
well, that's partially I want to be in that position, so I'm going to
Yeah.
look
Yep.
and eventually be there.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is something that you have to start to look at yourself, especially on something like this, where you know I've talked about this a little bit, but having to look at myself and go, you know, where's something that maybe I've done some of these things that I don't
Hmm.
really think about, like how have I interacted with people in the past. So I think it is as hard as it is to see that, you know, me and you know Wiseman show just joined. We talked about this a little bit, me and
Yeah.
Jake, about the fact that like you have to become self-reflectant upon this and realize that
Yeah.
like
Yep.
we've all probably done something, and then when we really realized, like every single woman that I know in the scene has told like has some sort of story about this. And so
Yeah.
like that's when it really became like it's not about just rhyme sayers. It's not about just like this is about like we need to look what these people are saying and fully support them when they tell it to you or when they walk up. It's not just like, oh, that's just my boy. He's just acting a little weird tonight. Like it's like, no, he's done. Like
And it's
that's
not stopping. It's not stopping. People are still getting called out to this day.
right.
People are still getting called out to this day, and it's a process because there's I know for a fact there's still a lot of people out there who are still afraid to come forward with their story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of people who found the courage through other people, but at the same time, it's not easy to talk about certain things that you've been through. And I always wanted to make sure that me moving through the scene, especially me as an artist, like I've always made it about the music, never a alternative or ulterior motive. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people have these hidden agendas, and they don't. They're not. They're. Okay, I'll say it. I'll fucking say it. A lot of these motherfuckers are lame as fuck, right? And they started to fucking get some fucking clout, some popularity, and took that to advantage. And they took advantage of people who looked at them as someone they could trust and look up to, and they took their clout or their fame and they used it to their advantage. A lot of these motherfuckers are lame as shit and wouldn't even have a chance with a lot of these people if they weren't in this position. And I don't fuck with dudes like that. And I will never fuck with these people. I will never look up to these motherfuckers or ever anything like that. I find that shit to be fucked up. And you know, a lot of people have that like you said, they have it's a mental thing. A lot of people didn't want to say shit because of who people were, or they felt like they get blackballed, or they felt like, you know, these people in this position will stop me from doing this and that. When really, if literally we took everybody who is not a part of this shit and started our own shit, started our own label, we would be a lot more successful than a lot of the motherfuckers out here. But a lot of people have to cling on to certain people or cling on to groups or cling on to crews. Like, this ain't the time to do that now. Motherfuckers are sick.
Right.
Motherfuckers are weirdos. This is not the time to be clinging on to so-and-so because of everything that they did in their music career. Fuck that. All that shit is null and void now.
Well, and what's even funny about it, I don't know if I should say funny, but like what's odd is, you know, I've followed Rhymesayers for a long time too, and Brother Ali spoke on the whole idea of people like telling him like, oh, we can't do this because Rhymesayers is here, and he's like, we're not really like focused on a lot of that stuff. We're just kind of making our music here, and a lot of people are clung onto them because of their status and what they've done. But what you're saying is absolutely true. If those people just combine with some of the other people, and you could start, I can think of like 5-6 rappers off the top of my head that you start a record label together and you start pushing that music around the city, like it could easily turn around and blow up. Like it's I think while it does have to do with Rhymesayers being in that position, I think a lot of it is that so many people are so focused on them instead of just going, I'm just going to carve my own lane in this.
Everybody thought it was only one channel to go into. There's not one channel to go into. You got multiple channels to go down. Everybody wanted to go down the same channel. Everybody wanted to be involved with the same people and have that status. You can't. I mean, that's why I move. Like I said, I move differently. I can't. I'm not amazed by stuff like that. That stuff doesn't fucking, you know, it's whatever to me. I don't care about being a part of your clique. I don't care about having that status with you. You know what I'm saying? If you support me, that's one thing. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the support I get. Anybody. I make sure I tell anybody who supports me, I appreciate them. But I'm not about to compromise myself and who I am just to be a part of some shit. And a lot of people I know caught some straight bullets because they close to some of these people. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy out here.
Yeah, and so, you know, the long-standing, I don't know if you want to say the storyline of this whole podcast with you comes back to this song, Life Lessons, that you put out in early May, and that's kind of how I've felt about a lot of things going on lately. And I kind of want to talk about, you know, because you've also been very outspoken recently about your family and about some of the struggles that you've gone through. But not only just struggles, the fact that you've had a family that stuck by you. And I think there's something to be said about, you know, it's great to have somebody pushing you to be great, but it's also there's a good feeling in coming through for that person and being and growing for that person. So first, I just want to say congrats on the new baby.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
That's great news.
Pushing for a boy. We pushing for a boy.
And so one of the questions, one of the first questions I want to ask you about it is, how was it different finding out about the second baby versus the first one? Like, do you notice anything different, or is it pretty similar?
So the first time I knew, like, before she did, and I remember this like it was yesterday. Like, my daughter is about to be 8 in February, and when we were going through a Wendy's drive-through, and I was like sitting in the passenger seat, and all of a sudden I just looked over at her, and she was like, "What?" And I'm like, "You pregnant?" "Don't say that." I'm like, "No, you pregnant. I know you pregnant." And then that's just happened from there. And then, like, I don't know, it's like it was a calm feeling. Like, I don't know what it is. I felt like, the first time I'd hear about me, you know, having a baby or something, I'd fucking panic or like all this shit. But, like, I don't know, it was something about the calmness of it, because I don't know, I feel like I've just been a dad already, bro. Like, I just I have that dad spirit, and I'm a caring person, man. And just finding out that I have my own child, it makes me real. It turned me into protector for real, like, for one, and it slowed me down, and it put me in a position. And a matter of fact, that probably helped me stay away from a lot of the toxic shit that was going on in the scene. Because if I wasn't over here with my family, I'd probably be out there trying to be in the scene and doing everything everybody else is doing and shit,
Right.
So, her being born slowed me down and really taught me about certain things that are more important in life, man. And look at that, she ain't here, my lady ain't here. So and so the second time finding out, man, is just like we kind of talked about it, weeks beforehand, but it wasn't planned, but it was in the plans. You know what I'm saying? We wanted to do this. We wanted to go try for a second one, and it happened. It happened, and by our surprise, it came to us at the right time, man. A lot of shit has been going on, and it really put a lot of joy in my heart. And we went to Denver, a few weeks ago, and I needed to get away just to, go out and see some beautiful shit, and smoke some good weed and shit, and fucking just feel free and shit, and just chill and calm down from all the shit that's been going on. And then finding this out, it's just like, all right, this is life. Like, this is what's going on. This is the path that I'm on. This is what's gonna help me become a better person. You know what I'm saying? So it felt good, man. Feels good.
I'm good. I'm glad to hear it. I mean, I have 5 nieces and nephews, and I'm not in the boat where I even want kids, but, like, I'll tell you what, like, having those kids around, it's something special to be.
You got enough practice.
Right. I get the like 30-minute parenting where I get to be like, all right, let's play, let's have fun, let's do all the fun stuff, and then you start screaming, and I'm like, here you go, here's your dad.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different feeling, but yeah, I mean, kids it definitely changes a mindset. I saw it with both of my brothers, and how they were acting before kids to after kids. I think there's definitely something that can be said about that aspect. And to your point, I mean, that's part of the reason why I feel I never got caught up in a lot of the stuff that was going on, was because it wasn't really my scene to be in. I was going and I was taking photos, and I was hanging out with people at shows and stuff, but I avoided after parties. I didn't really go out to club. Like, by the time I moved here, I was 26 years old. So, like, it was kind of at the end, I had college, I had fun in college, I partied, did everything. So by the time I got here, it was just, I'm doing this because I enjoy music. I'm doing this because I enjoy the people that, like, are in the scene that I'm around, but I'm not really going to this area where it's even around me, so it's definitely a different feeling. But hey, what I want to do, because I don't want to, we only get an hour on IG, so I want to jump into the kind of the heart of this, which is the quarantine questions. So the first question I have for you is, which artist has been heavily on your playlist throughout quarantine?
All right, I'm glad you said this, man, because I am a very diverse person. All right, there's a lot of things that people really don't know about me. Is I'm very diverse. I do not stick to one genre. I am a rapper, but I love everything. So right now, the person that is getting the most rotation, and I'm pretty sure when my year-end rap comes from Spotify, it's going to show that this person was my favorite artist. But this guy goes by the name of McGee, MK.GEE. Okay, it's an artist that I'm pretty sure my brother told me that Frank Ocean put him on or something like that, put him on part of a
Okay.
playlist one day, and like he just started kind of coasting from there. But he doesn't have a really, really big following, but the dude is knucking futs. This guy, he produces all his shit. He writes all his shit, and it's just like some, I don't know what category to put him in, but it just, there's music that I like to play for the time that I'm in. And the time that I'm in right now is wanting peace and wanting to feel calm. So this right here is where I'm at. So that McGee person is really putting me in that position to feel that way. So I'm really bumping that guy, which I know people
Absolutely.
are probably gonna hear that and be like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" But no,
Yeah,
check him out.
I just wrote it down. So
Yeah. Go listen to this shit. He just put out a new project last month or like a couple months ago called A Museum of Contradiction, and it's a fucking masterpiece.
absolutely. So, I'm gonna put you onto a kind of a weird vibe, and I don't know what you'll feel about it, but I'm excited to hear what you'll think
Come
about
on,
it.
come on with it.
So this artist is called That One Guy.
That one
Um,
guy, okay.
yeah. So he's I don't know. You'll see him at a lot of like festivals, like where Fish is playing or like jam band
Okay.
type of stuff. But he's got
Yeah.
one instrument, and it's this big tube that's got like a string on it, and he has I don't know. He makes these wild beats out of this one instrument and just looping them. So I'm gonna I'll send it to you after this. But That One Guy, I think you'll enjoy it. It's kind of out there, but I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So the second question, and this is my favorite question to ask, and it's one that I think is going to stay in this throughout the whole thing. Quarantine, it kind of puts you to be by yourself a lot more often, and even though
Yeah.
your family and everything, you tend to be even alone with family. You tend to start
Mm.
doing